I'm going to preface this by saying that I have not read or seen the other Odyssey movies. I have not read the Iliad. I have not read the Odyssey itself. I simply spent the better part of a day, about 3 hours. The movie's runtime is 234, I think. A little too long for the little that was happening, but not enough time to really flesh out what was going on. And before I even get into what I actually wanted to talk about with this, I'm just going to give a little brief synopsis of what I was unfortunate enough to go through watching this. The whole movie. Now, the acting was really, really kind of hit or miss between the actors themselves, even some of the really big names in there. I don't know if that's going to come down to direction or just the actors themselves are pretty washed. It was honestly just a big Hollywood circle jerk. It's all names that you'll recognize. All these people you've seen in movies before. It's nothing new. It's nothing new. The Odyssey itself, it has stories, it has movies. I haven't seen them. Like I said, I haven't read the story. I haven't seen the other movies. I'm going purely off of what Nolan here has decided to do with this movie. And let me tell you, save your time. Save your money if you were thinking of seeing it in the theaters, don't do it. Save your money. I saw it 100% legally. We all know what that means. And even with how terrible the quality was, everything still shines through. You can still watch this movie all the way through 100% legally and get the whole experience. But do not waste your money going to go see this in theaters. There's no point. Now, to start off, why was Travis Scott in this movie? And genuinely, why? What character was he even supposed to be playing? He was there like twice. I think twice throughout this movie he was there. And same goes for the transsexual Elliot Page. Was in this movie for what, 2 scenes? 3 scenes? Same with Helen of Troy, the black one. The black Helen of Troy. I can't believe I'm actually saying that. Was in the movie she was in the movie for like 3 scenes. 2 or 3 to like 4 to be generous. And it was really, really advertised that they were going to have larger roles in some of these advertisements. Some of these media outlets were really, really, really pushing that to the top. Really glazing that, as the kids say these days, not to sound old as shit. But, brother, first of all, there was no point in having Travis Scott in this movie. He was just in it to be in it. There's no point in having a black Helen of Troy. That just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make any sense. There's no call for that besides the studios and Netflix and all of these, I don't know about Netflix, but just Hollywood in general having a diversity quota that they have to meet for every single thing that comes out of them now. Every single movie, every show, it has to be filled with this stuff. You're going to see black people everywhere. You're going to see Asians and blacks and Africans and Indians. I won't call them what I wanted to call them. They'll be in all of these things. They'll be in every single one of these where they don't belong, especially in something like this, set in ancient Greek mythology, the Odyssey. Why are there blacks all over this movie? Why are there Indians, I'll say Indians, why are there red dot Indians in this movie? What sense does that make? And I'm sure there will be some defenders and DEI defenders, liberals in this comment section that will do their damnedest to defend this garbage, this slop, but it doesn't matter. It won't work. It won't work on me. I'm sorry. You're not going to convince these other people that what they did with this was right. It's just not going to work. That aside, the editing of the movie. Now, I know Nolan loves to shoot these things on whatever the hell he likes to shoot them on actual film, edits them himself, supposedly. But you didn't have to do that. You did not have to do that, bro, because the editing in this movie is terrible. There are scenes where if you have the attention span and you have the, I don't know, I guess, mental presence within the world now, you will realize that there are some scenes that are flashbacks within flashbacks, and it's really not conveyed well that is exactly what that is. The whole story itself is not conveyed well. I'm pretty sure Nolan wanted you to know the story before you go into this, but I don't know. There's going to be some, maybe not even younger people. I don't think younger people go to the movies anymore, but there's going to be people that watch this and they're going to be like, what the fuck is going on? Like me. I only know so much about Greek mythology. I don't know a lot. But even so, the things in this movie could have very well been explained so much better. He could have spent a lot more time putting these scenes together, making sure they flow well, making sure that the story itself is being historically accurately represented, but none of that happened. None of that happened. Not a damn piece of it happened. And it was extremely jarring because you're immediately going from one scene to the next. There was no transitioning, like no Star Wars wipes or anything like that. No music to accompany transitions. No effects, really. No effects. And this movie could have used some effects in the editing, not just the CG stuff, but on the actual editing floor. It needed that. It needed transitioning. It needed actual proper cutting during the battle scenes. Be there not too many, but there's a couple of them in here. The cutting is very quick. The shaky cam is wild because that's modern Hollywood, and that's been Hollywood for the past 20 fucking years. You can't tell what's happening in these combat scenes. You just kind of have to guess, especially in the final one where Odysseus is facing off all these suitors, right? You can't see what's happening because Matt Damon is old and these other actors are old. They can't move like actual stunt actors can. They can't move like younger people can. And so they do this shaky cam and they use the darkness of the scene to hide how shit their movement is, how shit their choreography was. And it kind of just blows my mind that we used to have great action movies like, let's just say Revenge of the Sith, right? That's one of my favorite movies. The action in that, you can see everything that happens. Every single fighting scene, you can see what happens. The war scenes, you see what happens. And oh man, yeah, let's get into the conversations and how they were shot, right? The dialogue scenes. Holy fuck. All of them, the characters. Now, it'll show one character in the scene when they're talking, and then it'll swap to the other one. Does like not even like an over the shoulder thing, but more so it keeps them completely centered at all times, and it ignores good shot composition because I can only assume they wanted to make TikTok clips and make it easier to make short form edits of this movie. And that's kind of what the whole movie felt like, was a short form presentation. It was just wildly shot, wildly edited, and it didn't take time to really establish a lot of things. Now, I know Nolan wanted you to have read the story, but when you've got random people coming into this and they're like, okay, yeah, it's a new movie. Let's go watch it. They don't know what the Odyssey is. They maybe heard the name. They go into this. They watch this movie. They get to the scene with the giant. They're like, what the fuck is this? What is happening? What is that? You get to the scene with those big ogre motherfuckers in the armor. They're like, what happened? You get to that scene with the Scylla, and they're like, what is this? What is this? And I kind of had that same reaction. Kind of. I know, like I said, I know a tiny, tiny bit about Greek mythology. Not a lot. I know a little bit more about Egyptian, like ancient Egypt and stuff like that. The early civilizations in the Middle East. But if you go into this blind, you are going to be confused. You are going to be very confused. You are, like I said, if you're a human being that's mentally present, that never downloaded TikTok like I never did, that doesn't consume short form content, you are screwed watching this movie. Because it is, I've already gone through that. Now, what I wanted to actually talk about regarding this movie, two articles I came across that this first one's from Salon. The new Helen of Troy is black, and that's upsetting racist by C.K. Smith. I didn't look into him. I'm going to have to do that in my own time. The controversy of Lupita Nyong'o. That's not even a black person. That's not a black person. That's an African. Now you're going to be sitting here, oh my God, that's racist. How could you say that? Their skin is black. They're the same. They're not the same. American blacks and Africans are entirely different people. Anyway, the controversy of African in the Odyssey echoes earlier backlash to casting and other fantasy adaptations. Okay. Now let's go to the actual text here. I don't think this was all of it. For both of these, I clipped the parts I actually wanted to talk about because, quite frankly, going over the whole article, you can read it. I show the titles here. You can read the full articles. I'm going to go over what I wanted to go over with this. I'm also sorry if the audio quality is kind of crazy because I'm holding my microphone right now. It's the shitty USB microphone. I'm holding it in my hand. I don't have a stand for it or anything. I'm just making do. First video, by the way. Give me some slack. Let's go through this. Let's go through this article. Getting lost in the debate over the race of fictional characters is that Musk and others also oppose the casting of Elliot Page as Achilles, which was crazy, by the way. Remember the other casting for Achilles in Troy? Brad Pitt? That was a good fit. He did pretty well in that movie. That was a pretty good movie, for the most part. Anyway, questioning the masculinity of a trans man playing a mythological symbol of what they consider traditional masculinity. Holy shit. I can't with this. The debate over race mirrors earlier controversies surrounding Halle Bailey? Halle Bailey? Starring in The Little Mermaid. Oh, the Black Little Mermaid. You know what's wild about that movie? They didn't even spare the horse. They made the horse black. The original horse is white. They made the horse black. They race swapped the fucking horse. And other diverse casting choices in fantasy and literary adaptations. In many cases, critics frame objections around historical accuracy or fidelity to source material, while supporters argue mythology and fiction have always evolved through reinterpretation and artistic adaptation. No. Evolved is not the right word to use there. And you don't need to reinterpret these kinds of stories. You don't need to. You just tell them how they are. There is no need for reinterpretation or art, quote unquote, artistic adaptation, meaning race swapping characters and not fleshing out the story that's told because you need to meet your diversity quota. That distinction is especially relevant in discussions surrounding the Odyssey, a mythological epic that has been reimagined across centuries through theater, literature, film, and visual art. But the original story is not like what is reimagined. We don't need reimaginations. We do not need remasters or remakes. That is a whole other thing I'll get into another time. I have ideas for that, okay? I won't get into the whole gaming thing right here, but I will eventually. in another video. Where was I? Supporters of Nyong'o, the African, supporters of Africans, casting note that Helen of Troy is not a historical figure bound to a single visual interpretation, but a literary and symbolic character whose meaning has shifted across cultures and eras. That is incorrect. That is incorrect. Helen of Troy is a historical figure bound to a single visual interpretation because it was just a single person, not a symbol. Helen of Troy was a white woman, deemed to be the most beautiful woman. I don't know of just that era or of all time, whatever it was. She was the most beautiful of that time. And you really think that that role, that title, belongs to that African? Truly. Did Nolan actually think that, or did the tiny hats that are in Hollywood force him to do that? Did the CIA force him to do that? I think we all know the answer to that. Now, maybe the CIA didn't really have much to do with that. They've had a lot to do with a lot of other movies, though. You can look into that in your own time. I don't think I need to make a video about that because other people have made great videos about that. However, the tiny hats, they love to throw this shit in there. Now, let's read the rest of this. Some critics of the backlash have also pointed out that online outrage over quote unquote, they have in here accuracy, often appears selective, emerging most forcefully when black actors are cast in traditionally white roles. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? You didn't ask yourself when writing that? I'll read the rest of this before I get into that. The controversy has therefore become less about Homeric, the name of the writer of the Odyssey, Homer, Homeric mythology itself, and more about ongoing cultural disagreements over representation, identity, and who audiences view as worthy of iconic roles in modern entertainment. Let me get back to the black actors casting in traditional white roles, and why do you think people are mad about that? Why do you think I'm mad about that? I'm white. My skin's white. Now I'm like 17% black, right? I'm mixed in that sense, but if you saw me, you would think I was white because my skin is white. Therefore, I have the N pass. I won't be... If I do use it in the video, I will be censoring that, unfortunately, because of how YouTube is. We all know how YouTube is. Back to the question of why would we be angry about blacks being cast in white roles? Because that is replacing a white character with a black one. You are actively changing, you would say reimagining, these characters into what they do not need to be. We are tired of seeing it. We are tired of it being pushed in our faces all the time. It is in everything. It is in video games. It is in movies. It is in shows. It is in books. Well, maybe not. I don't actually know about books, but because I don't really read modern books anymore. We're angry about this because we are being actively replaced, in the roles that we should have. This happens all the time. This has happened most prominently, I think, in superhero movies. I'm no fan of superhero movies now. They're all garbage. Earlier ones, like the Iron Man movies, are pretty good. I like those ones. Or the early Spider-Man movies. The early Superman ones are fun. But these modern ones are just trash, and you can tell where they're pushing these kinds of DEI hirings or tiny hat propaganda. It's all there. It's all there, and you can see it. And we're tired of it. We are tired of it. Some black people are tired of it. We're all getting tired of this shit. We don't want to see it anymore. But the unfortunate thing is we're going to continue to see it no matter what. Because that is what they want to push on you. That is what the big noses want you to see. They want you to be replaced because you are white, because you are Christian. That's a whole other deal, though. But that is why we are mad. We don't want to see it anymore. But we continually have to see it. I'm going to go over another thing that I came across. Another article from the Greek Reporter. Straight out of Greece by Tassos Kokkinaitis. That is a hard-ass name. Outrage over casting of Lupita Nyong'o as Helen of Troy in the Odyssey. All right. This reads, a tsunami of backlash has erupted following director Christopher Nolan's decision to cast black actress the African as Helen of Troy. The Hollywood director has taken a quote-unquote reimagined approach to Homer's epics in his film The Odyssey, which was filmed in Greece. Ooh, I didn't know that. It was actually filmed there. Good job. You did the bottom line. Set to premiere this July, the film, which appears to prioritize Hollywood's diversity mandates over the historical and literary context of Homer epics, thank you for calling that out, received over 6 million, not 271,000, 6 million? Okay. 6.9 million to be exact. In Greek, the number always goes up, doesn't it? In Greek state funding, the Greek country, funded this movie. Gave them $6 million to fund it. How interesting of a number. According to Star Channel's editor-in-chief, I didn't know that before reading this, that the Greek state funded it. I should have known. According to Star Channel's editor-in-chief, Elias Papanikolaou, I think, why are their names like easier to say than the African names? Genuinely. How is that even possible? Look at that. Look at that compared to Lupita Nyong'o. Crazy, man. Crazy. Nolan will collect upwards of 6.5 million. And then in parentheses, we have 7.5 million in taxpayer money for what Papanikolaou describes as a falsification of a global literary treasure. Yes, it is exactly that. It was a disgrace. It was garbage. It was not fun to watch. Now, here's the thing, right? There were a couple of okay scenes, a couple of all right scenes, but those all right scenes were immediately undercut by the horrible editing, the quick cutting, just the acting, which is unfortunate because some of these scenes could have been really great. But because of the 3-hour time limit set for the movie, these scenes, they couldn't be fleshed out. They couldn't be properly done. The funding decision recently published on the Dievgea, I don't know how to pronounce that one, transparency portal, has raised serious concerns. Who vetted the script and the cast? Papanikolaou asked. Did no one question seeing a famous black actress like Lupita Nyong'o in the credits? Great question. The decision was an amendment, meaning they reviewed the file in depth. Even if we assume they missed it, did they not see the press reports? Nolan filmed in Acrocorinth, Pylos, and Methone. I'm hoping I'm saying those right. I don't really care about saying the African's name right. Hopefully I say those right. Who granted those permits without checking the script? Great question. If you want to read the rest of the article, there's like a part before this. You can go ahead and read that. Genuinely, who vetted the script and the cast? Well, I think the Tiny Hats did. They didn't vet anything, though. They wanted this to be like this. They all wanted to push this kind of thing in this movie. Just imagine for a moment, if they would have had a white woman in the role of Helen of Troy. Just imagine that. The blacks would have been furious. The blacks would have made a stink about it. The liberals would have made a stink about it. The Jews would have made a stink about it, as they do. But it's okay when the whites make a stink. They think they want the whites to be mad because they know they won't do anything. They know they won't do anything. It's so unfortunate. They know that we as whites will not do anything because we are so cucked. We are so gone. There's so much white guilt within our race. It's kind of crazy. It's really sad. And it will continue to be that way, which is super unfortunate. But yeah, this is pretty wild. They knew they were going to get backlash for it, but they did it anyway. That's no secret. You know, they knew this was going to happen. They were going to do it anyway. They were going to push the message. They were going to push the diversity. They didn't care. They never care. They're going to replace white actors as much as they possibly can. They already do it. They've been doing it for like 30 years. It's going to continue. And anybody who actually goes and buys tickets to see these movies, you are just funding it. You are a part of the problem. You are retarded. You are if you're white and you're seeing this movie and you said it was a good movie, you are beyond help. You are all a problem. And this is just how modern Hollywood movies are and how they will continue to be. Thank you for listening to my ranting. I'm sure I'll be back with something else soon, maybe next week, maybe 2 weeks from now. I don't know. Whenever I feel like recording. Don't go and see this movie. Do not go and see this. This is trash. This is garbage and should be treated as such. If you go and see this movie and you think it's good, you're a problem. You go and see this movie, you don't think it's good, you're still a problem. You bought the ticket for it. If you really want to put yourself through it, do it 100% legally. Okay? All right. See you next time. Have a good one.